What does realtor work ethic look like? That's what we're going to tackle today here on the War Room channel. If you like content like this and you're in the real estate industry and you're wondering what it takes to build a business that is profitable, subscribe to this channel or consider giving it a like and even a comment about what questions you have about being in real estate that you'd like us to answer so that we can help you become more profitable in this business. So with that, we're going to talk today about work ethic. The reason being is because real estate is a business, not just a job. And depending on what mindset you have around work and a job can greatly affect how you go about this business. The simple fact is this, and we'll talk about this a lot on the channel. The failure rate is over 80% for all new agents that come into this business. The 5-year survival rate actually is under that 20%. Less than 20% of the people, even 5 years in, survive in this industry. And there's a reason for that, and that reason has a lot to do with how relentless they are about the business, in addition to why they got in the business. So we're going to cover a few things on the work ethic conversation today. So let's take a look at it. All right, first question we have to answer is, why do people even get into the business? And there's a myriad of reasons. Maybe one of these will identify with you, but let's talk about some of the ones that I hear all the time. So number one thing I hear all the time is freedom. If they worked a 9-to-5 job, or even perhaps a retail job where they weren't working 9 to 5, but they're 40 to 60 hours a week at random times, then it comes down to, I work for somebody else, I have to be at the job, they tell me when I have to come in, and if I don't come in, I don't have a job. So by getting freedom, they're like, well, now I can take off to take my kids on their medical appointments. I can, decide not to work today, and that can be a blessing and can be a curse as well. Some take it just because they're tired of the corporate America job. They don't mind the 9 to 5. They simply want to be in something that is less corporate overall. Third one is the pay, right? And sometimes we're going to use this word lightly, the ease of how you can make money in this, even though the upside opportunity in real estate is arguably in some cases second to none. All right. Another reason is the appearance that it is easy. So they get into it for some of those other reasons, but it's like, oh, I can make 6 figures and work part-time. Now, are there people in real estate that make 6 figures and work part-time? Absolutely. Can you be one of those people? Yes, anything is possible. However, if you're coming in this going, hey, I really want a job where I can do the least amount of work and make the most amount of money, and I'm really focused on doing less work right now, this may not be the business for you. Now, some stumble into it and they do really well. They take to it like a duck to water, where a majority don't. Statistically speaking, it's somewhere in the 85% range, don't even make it past that first year. Why is that? Well, it's because they came in going, oh goodness, I finally got a job where it's going to be easy. And the reality is you got a business, not a job. And we'll talk about that in a later video, the difference between being entrepreneurial and having a job, because you actually kind of have to have both for this industry. The other reason that people get into this is because they were told that they're great with people. So that tends to draw from a couple different industries. One would be bartenders, right? If you were in the bartending business, and bartenders are a lot like pastors, right? So people go to the bar and drink, and then they talk to a complete stranger who's pouring them a drink and tell them all their lives' woes. Well, that's one reason that, and they're really good with people, make them feel heard, make them feel validated, and all these things. And so somebody says, you're really good with people, you should get into real estate. The other industry is going to be servers, right? So if you have an exceptional server who can remember everybody's order, they seem sharp and on top of it, they seem intuitive and in front of what you might need, and they work well in the chaos, you're like, man, you're really good with people, you should be in real estate. And the reality is, I have coached and trained people that have come from both of those industries, and they've done very well, including even from ministerial backgrounds with the people skill. However, the people skill, being good with people, actually can be a detriment to you learning, because if you rely on just your natural talent, it can be a problem. So those are some of the reasons people get into the business, right? But the overall is more money for the same amount of work. In other words, you get a better ROI on your investment of time and energy. And that's the reason people get into this business. And those that stay in and are successful, that's what they capitalize on. Okay. So what does a successful agent schedule look like? Let's talk about that. That's one of the areas where we depart from what works and what people think works to the idea of freedom and being, more independent. Here's the reality. If it's not on your schedule, it doesn't exist, is a quote by Gary Keller. I've heard him say that personally. I've read it in the books. And here's what I know. If you have enough outside influence that forces you to do something, you prove the rule wrong. Okay, it wasn't on my schedule, yet I focused and did it. However, day to day to day, the discipline isn't there. And what happens is you end up with the roller coaster of real estate, meaning you get in the business, you have nothing to do. If you're going to actually work this business, you get on and start pounding the phones, meeting people, doing networking, doing one of the myriad of things you can do to make money or at least make connections in this business that leads to money. Then what happens is if you stick to that enough and work it, you end up with a deal or maybe two. Now you're working those one or two deals. And you're like, I don't need to make phone calls anymore. Now I can find some relief in my life. And you focus on working the deals and you love it. Let's even say you're awesome at it. Well, what happens is you've just gotten out of business. You've stopped calling, networking, talking to people. And unless business happens to come to you or it comes to you as a result of the work you're doing with those one or two people, which does happen, where you end up with is you go and you're like, got a deal? Close the deal. And now I'm back to day one. I have no business coming in the door. And here's what I can tell you. I use this analogy like a locomotive. A locomotive pulling a large set of box trains and any other cars on the track takes a majority of that locomotive's engine to start and pull that thing from a dead stop and get it up to speed. Once it is up to whatever velocity that it's looking to travel at, it doesn't have to use as much fuel or energy to keep it up to speed. So if you do all that work and all that effort and it feels like a Herculean feat and now you've got it running, what happens on this side of it is you continue to do the front end lead generation and networking and all the things that caused you to get that first piece of business. And then the next piece comes in and you start working it and you do it systematically. And what you end up with is a business. And the next deal comes, and the next deal comes, and the next deal comes. And sure, there's some of this going on, but it's not this and then brand new business start and this and a brand new business. Now it's this. All right. So that, the wave becomes smaller. It creates more stability in the overall process for you. So can anyone succeed in this business? Well, the reality is yes, anyone can succeed in the business, but most don't. And the reality is they don't simply because they are unwilling to do the work. And the work is lead generation. So back to that calendar. If you want the best one, you're probably going to get it from a class that is, I'll take this from the class called Bold. And that's where you color code a calendar and you put on there your money-making activities, which is generating new business. Do that in the morning. If you can do that consistently 5 days a week for 2 hours a day and you do it effectively, where you're not spending that time going, who should I call? Let me organize this and let me check my emails and Facebook and then I make 5 phone calls. But you actually go in knowing who you're going to call as the day starts. You make the phone calls. Now those can be client care calls. Those could be for sale by owner calls. Those could be family and friends. I mean, it doesn't have to be anything specific other than it has to be about generating you new real estate. What you don't want to do is go in and do the proximity game where you're like, I have a real estate license and I'm going to stand next to you and kind of show you that I have a shirt on that says real estate. Let's see, I got my shirt, my Keller Williams shirt. And if I stand here long enough, business will manifest. You actually have to have conversations. So doing that for 2 hours a day, disciplined and consistent, will create business. I can tell you that oftentimes because of the size of our business, and I have to work on the business and in the business, that I don't always get a chance to do that lead generation, and I can tell the difference in our business. But without fail, when I jump on the phone and talk to people, business happens. And that is the same for everybody else. If you are running a business by yourself and you have no other agents, or you're on a team, that's your sole job, is do that. In the afternoon, after 11 o'clock, the schedule would look like is you're following up with anybody who's returned your calls during that lead gen time. You're following up on any existing business that you have to be able to move it forward. And then hopefully in the afternoon, you're going on appointments, new appointments that you set, looking for the next piece of business. And the rest of the time, you're actually either, depending on your job, showing houses or negotiating contracts to get to closing, and the cycle repeats itself. And so that schedule is going to look like lead generation, going on appointments, negotiating contracts, closing transactions, and repeat, right? And during the lead generation, you're going to have its own categories. That could be networking, that could be new contacts made, people you don't know, following up on an existing pipeline, which needs to be part of that conversation in there, and creating referral partnerships with people. So those are some good ways that you can break that up where it's not the same thing all the time. And so work ethic is a big deal. I will take somebody who is not a people person, who will follow scripts and dialogue, put the work in to do consistent lead generation, and I will bet money that they'll succeed faster than the person who is excellent with people that relies on their charisma and their skill. That one is, that's like a roulette table. You bet on 20 and you roll the dice. Sometimes you hit it and it's just obvious and it's pay dirt, but I can't tell you how many people with sales backgrounds that are great with people that came out of a corporate world that you look at them and you're like, this person's going to do great, and they struggle. So that's where the work ethic conversation comes in. The reason I wanted to shoot this video was because this is a hard conversation I have to have that is usually specific to somebody's situation, something that they're going through, and that I have to tell them, okay, should you be in an administrative role? Because really what you want is a 9-to-5 where somebody tells you what to do. I can't tell you how many times I talked to people recently that were at our market center. They're like, well, I used to work in a field where everybody told me what to do, so I'm just waiting on somebody to tell you what to do. And I'm like, okay, I'll tell you what to do. Pick up the phone and call people. Well, they won't do that. Well, I don't know people, and people don't know me, and other people need to call me. I'm not calling people. Well, that's not how this is going to work. Are you sure you don't want an administrative job, or you want a job not in this industry? The bottom line is this: be relentless. All right? I don't know if you can see that on the camera. Relentless is that sign that's up there. Someone who is determined to do something and refuses to give up is the definition you can't see in small print. If you have that attitude and you're willing to do the lead generation, you will have ups and downs and you will fail, but you'll succeed more than you fail. And because the reward is so high in this business, you'll actually profit from it. If you're interested in a career in real estate, or you're interested in being on a team, give us a call. Let us talk about you, the industry, and what that looks like of you creating a career in real estate. Our number is below. Thanks so much. Talk to you soon.